Hi, everybody. Today, let's talk about a topic which is fomenting creativity, key to employee productivity. So, on our panel today, we have, let's, one second, I'm just having a trouble moving the screen. So, one of my favorite quotes is by Albert Einstein. We are talking about two things, creativity and productivity. Einstein says, creativity is seeing what others see and thinking what no one else ever thought. So, that in itself is a nutshell of what creativity is all about. So, in today's webinar, we're going to talk further on what creativity and productivity and how they both are connected. Here is another saying by a famous novelist and poet, Franz Kafka. So we're talking about two different aspects. So we're talking about productivity here. He says productivity is being able to do things you were never able to do before. So that is a definition of which I found to be a very good definition of productivity. So today on our panel we have Dan Riley. He's co-founder and CEO of Radical. We have Floyd, director of Wellsprings. Marcus, our Swiss friend, he's CEO Carrera Marketing and CEO for Carrera. I mean, he's got two different companies for Carrera. And we have Dr. Sandeep, who is psychiatrist. We felt there was a need to involve a doctor because we're talking about creativity and the brain and activity and something that's connected to not just our bodies, but also to our mind. Because some of you might wonder why have a psychiatrist on as one of our speakers. So let's talk about the agenda. We have introduction. Okay, we're going to talk about creativity and what it means to be creative. We're going to understand the importance of creativity in workplace. We're going to talk about creativity and productivity. We're going to talk about fostering a creative work environment, tools and techniques to boost creativity, overcoming barriers to creativity, measuring creativity and its impacts, interactive session. We'll have a Q&A, and then there is the conclusion, and we're going to talk about what our upcoming events are going to be. So what is the importance of creativity in modern workplace? Why do we need to talk about creativity in the workplace? So we have some of the things we noticed was we felt why creativity needed to be talked about was in the area of problem solving. So we're going to talk a little more about problem solving. It is why is creativity being increasingly recognized as a vital asset in modern workplace? Because when it comes to problem solving, we have the aspect of innovation and adaptability. Creative thinking fosters innovation by encouraging employees to think outside the box and develop unique solutions to problems. Adaptability is creative individuals can adapt to changes and unexpected challenges more efficiently by coming up with new approaches and alternatives. Then we have competitive advantage, where we talk about the market differential and brand identity. So companies that foster creativity can differentiate themselves from competitors through unique products, services, and marketing strategies. And when it comes to brand identity, creativity helps in building a strong brand identity that resonates with customers and creates loyalty. Then we talk about employee engagement and satisfaction, motivation and retention. Motivation, when we talk about motivation, it's basically opportunities for creative expression can increase job satisfaction and motivation among employees. And when it comes to retaining the employees, creative work environments are more likely to retain talented employees who seek growth and new challenges. Then we come to collaboration and teamwork. So we see that in collaboration and teamwork, you have diverse perspectives and team dynamic. Encouraging creativity often leads to more inclusive environments where diverse perspectives are valued. And team dynamics, creative problem solving typically requires collaboration and strengthening team bonds and communication. Then organizational growth, which is innovation pipelines and long-term success. A culture of creativity ensures a steady pipeline of new ideas that can be developed into successful projects or products. And long-term success. Companies that prioritize creativity are better positioned for long-term success due to their ability to innovate and adapt continuously. And then we have enhanced customer experience. And when we talk about enhanced customer experience, we talk about unique offerings and customer engagement. Creative companies can offer unique products and services that better meet customer needs and preferences. And when it comes to customer engagement, engaging and innovative marketing campaigns can capture and retain customer interest more effectively. And then we come to efficiency and productivity, which is efficient process improvement and resource optimization. In process improvement, what does creativity do? Creative approaches can streamline processes and improve efficiency, thus reducing cost and time. And resource optimization. Creative thinking can lead to more effective use of resources, thus maximizing their value. Now I hand over to Dan. Dan's gonna talk about definition of creativity and much more. All right, Dan, come on in.
Dan, you are
Thanks,
muted.
everybody. Yeah. I was just getting ready to share my screen properly here. Do this one more time. Thank you, Bissy. And I'm going to share. This should be what you see. All right. Can everybody see my screen?
Yeah, Dan, it's the whole screen.
It's what?
You need to like expand it, those two diagonal arrows, just press that.
Yes. How's that look?
Oh, that's good, but not full yet.
Well, I think as long as everyone can read it, I think it looks.
Yeah, it's fine.
Let's continue forward. So I'm just going to go for like 8 or 10 minutes here to keep things moving. This is a really near and dear topic for me. And I first want to give kind of a Webster's definition of creativity, and then I want to storytell a little bit about what I believe creativity really is and what it comes from. So the definition of creativity, if you were to Google it or search it, and there's a lot of different ones, and they're all going to be similar to some degree, but it's the ability to think about a task or a problem in a new and different way, or the ability to use the imagination to generate new ideas. And I completely agree with this definition. I have no problem with this definition. But I think the most important part about creativity is it's really, we too often think about, and I'll talk about this in a moment, that there are many of us who are creatives and those who are not. My argument is, in fact, creativity comes from connection of many people doing amazing work together, right? We too often think about, especially in the workplace, we too often think about creativity as one person has the idea, or one genius has the idea. Someone might certainly, bring up a great idea, but it takes the collective team, right, to actually mold creative ideas into reality. So creativity, and I'll talk about this in a moment, in the workplace is truly the best of people connecting, the best of people ideating, and everything that Bissy was just talking about requires an incredible amount of people skills more than anything, right? You need to feel safe to bring an idea up. When I was coming up through the working world in my 20s, I was very shy. I was a musician. And so creativity's always been in my blood, and I still play music and I make films. And so, I've always considered myself a creative, but often those who are creative are also very quiet and shy, and they're fearful of bringing their ideas to the table. So it takes a team to create comfort and create safety, create inclusion, right, across a group of people. And that's how the best ideas are brought forward. And the best ideas always come, I believe, from the quietest people, in my experience. And so to me, the heart of creativity is giving someone a chance to speak their mind. And if we do that, then now we're leveraging our imagination, and we are generating new ideas for the better of the individual, better of the team, better of the organization. So I love this quote, and which is, and it's, I'll make a quick joke here. I had the Albert Einstein quote in my deck, and Bissy beat me to it. Got my Einstein quote. So, but this one's good. It's a good second. Creativity is piercing the mundane to find the marvelous. And I actually love this because this is so true, right? Creativity in a lot of ways, if you're doing it right, is risk. There's a saying that says that the greatest risk of all is not taking risk, right? And in order to take risk, you need to be creative, you need to be brave enough, you need to be courageous enough to sort of bring an idea forward that's never existed, right? I mean, so that you have to get past fear. Anytime you have a new idea, a new concept, you can't predict the future. You can guess the future, but creativity is bringing new things to light. And when you bring new things to light, you have to be brave and willing to understand that it might fail, or it might fall down, or it might not work. And so you can never let that be a roadblock or a stumbling block with creativity. So it is piercing the mundane to find the marvelous. I really do love this definition of it. So I wanted to talk a bit about, in the workplace, we talk a lot about innovation, we talk a lot about creativity, and I want to highlight, it's a little bit of a joke statement because they're so interrelated. The differences between creativity and innovation, of course there are differences, but they're completely related, and here's why. To unlock innovation, right, you need to empower people around you. There's no other way. That's how you unlock innovation in any organizational culture. You have to give your people a voice, give them a chance, let them bring the idea, as crazy as it might be. bring it up. Let's hear it. That's the way the best ideas are found. And in order to do that, you need to create a culture of creativity, right? To drive innovation. Every organization, there's not a single organization that we work with, that I work with, that doesn't suggest innovation isn't important for their long-term, both short-term and long-term success. And innovation comes in many shapes, forms, and sizes. Innovation isn't just about technology, right? Innovation is about any aspect of the business. You're innovating to do something different. You're here, I want to be here. Innovation is required, whether it's people process, whether it's tech process, whether it's something in the middle. And creativity are the ideas, right, that are scattered around innovation that ultimately drive change forward. So there really isn't a difference other than you have to create a culture and allow, and I would say amplify creativity, and that drives the opportunity for innovation. So they are both necessary and they must live together. You really can't have an innovative culture without creativity. And if you have creativity, you will likely have innovation, with the exception of if you just have creativity and you never harness ideas, then innovation stalls, right? So it starts with creativity, but then you need to leverage it, you need to harness it to drive innovation forward. So I want to quickly go through just when we talk about creativity, there are many different types, and I always hate to classify anything into categories, but I'm going to walk you through really fast 5 different types of creativity. And for the most part, I suspect everyone will probably spans multiple boxes here, or maybe just is fixed into one. But a divergent thinking, so this is sort of you ideate through many different ideas to find the best outcome, right? So it's more the beauty of randomness that ends up working together, right? So it's multiple ideas that drive things forward. Lateral thinking is completely bringing in ideas that you just haven't done in the past. It's when someone starts a sentence and says, well, this is just a crazy idea, but how about if, right? So that's typically lateral thinking. And that's why we call it out of the box thinking, right? Then there's aesthetic thinking, which is really more around sort of the beauty and the taste of things. And it's more around the design and the flow and almost how it feels, right? And that the visual aspect of it, and more of the emotional connection to it. So I think that thinking is so important in any types of creativity. Then there's the systems thinking, which is of course those who are much more technical and really drive creativity from almost a bottom-up approach. Obviously in science, we have this type of creativity, and in tech design, we have this type of creativity. And then there's the inspirational thinking. And that's like, imagine if when everybody did, and I usually find myself there. I say personally, I'm probably somewhere between lateral, systems, and inspiration. But the inspirational thinking is imagine a place and imagine if. And I think it's important that we have inspirational thinkers backed up by systems, backed up by aesthetic, backed up by lateral, backed up by divergent. We need all of these types: inclusion in thinking, inclusion in creativity. So in the context of work, really my last slide here before I pass it over, and I've kind of alluded to this through everything, but I would argue that if you're listening to this and you say, well, how do we drive more creativity in work? And the number one thing is building connectivity and connections in the workplace, and making sure individuals are empowered and have a voice. Those are the two things to drive creativity in the workplace. Some of the best creativity happens with groupthink. Some of the best creativity happens from a solo perspective. But to implement it again and drive it towards innovation and actually drive change, it does require conversation, and it requires connection, and it requires trusting someone's instincts. So I think that it's so important that if creativity ends up living in a box and we never harness it and we never put it into practice, then it's for naught. And I think that's disappointing. And I see that in companies. There's incredible talent, incredible ideas, and it just gets stuck. So we have to lift it out of the corners of great minds and great thinkers, and leverage team think more, and really apply it to the context of work, which I know we'll get into more within the next hour and a half. So I believe that is on my last slide is, let's see here, is just so I said this, just want to the myths and conceptions, and I want to say it again. None of us are as creative as all of us. Remember that. It always takes a team, and it isn't just one creative person. The beauty of people coming together, that drives creativity at its best. So with that, let's create the freedom to create in the workplace, and together we can. That's my pitch. Hope I didn't go too far over, and I think I am turning it over. Bissy, who is next?
Yeah, Dan, I'll take over from here.
Perfect.
Thank you, Dan. Now I'm going to share my screen. And let me know if you can see it.
Yes.
Bissy, the screen can be seen?
Yes, screen is fine. Just this is the
Okay.
yeah.
Then let's get started. So welcome everyone once again. Thanks for being here. It gives us an opportunity to share with you our experiences, at the same time to learn from you what you have experienced, so we both grow together. So as Dan was saying earlier, the importance of creativity and innovation, and what Bissy also said prior to that, I'd like to share with you that, we have a World Creativity and Innovation Day celebrated on the 21st of April, because it's something that's so important, not just to people in business, but right across every aspect of your life. And why I have brought this here is the United Nations, in the 17 projects that they are working across since 2015 across the world, have called this 21st of April as World Creativity and Innovation Day, because unless we think and act differently, okay, we are not going to be able to change and improve the situation we are in currently. So taking off from there, what exactly is the aspects of creativity? And a research done by Harvard, okay, a scientist called Miss Teresa Amabile, psychologist from there, who's well known for her studies in creativity. She says it's basically compiles three aspects. One is the expertise you already have, the knowledge and skills that you already have and keep developing. Creative thinking skills is how we arrange all that together, right? So basically, to build on what Dan said, what if? So that's what creativity is. You wear on a different set of glasses, have different perspectives, and look at the same things differently. And even if you come up with an idea now, it's important that you are motivated to share it and make a difference. It has to have meaning and purpose behind what you have. Because in this case, of course, within a work context, we think everything is driven by how much cash I get. But more importantly, in the case of creativity, it is the intrinsic motivation of the person, where the person enjoys making a difference, enjoys thinking differently, and wants to make a difference rather than what he only gets after he's made an impact. So these three things become very critical, and it has been proven by research. So if that is it, we realize that creativity and innovation are two different things. Creativity is not innovation. Why? Because the purpose of innovation is to take an idea and create value out of it. Now, for your own personal gain, it might be value for yourself, but within an economic context of an organization, is you take the idea, make it workable so that it can create economic value. So as we said earlier, the idea is great. And as Dan said, people are rather quiet, they are introverted. It takes the leadership to bring that out, for people to have that psychological safety to express themselves. Because when you're creative, you are usually challenging the status quo. Usually the first answer, the first reply you get when you want to change something is, but we've always done it this way, right? So it's the importance for the leadership to work forward and bring this out to people, for people to feel psychologically safe, for people to be able to trust their leaders, that they can speak their minds, challenge the status quo, and sometimes even challenge the way your boss is working. And then it needs collaboration, because at the end of the day, if you want to implement an idea, there's going to be change. So how do you work together to make that change happen? And finally, it's the implementation, which will generate the value. And like we say at the end here, ideas are worthless if they don't create real value. So that's the importance of the innovation part. So you can have a great idea, but if it doesn't create tangible value, well, it's just that, it's an idea. So moving forward from that, this is the sweet spot, right? Where you have an idea, you make it applicable to somebody who finds value in it. And in an economic context, the person is even willing to buy it. And that's what makes the difference. Now, I mean, it's very interesting that you have a bulb here, right? Thomas Edison, who invented the electric bulb, he used over 10,000 different filaments to try and make it. And finally, when he hit upon tungsten, that was the right element with which to form it, right? He was then able to make it into something that was useful for his customers and then sell it. And this is something we are still using today. So that's an example of innovation, converting an idea into real value. But what happens usually in the context of an organization? No, we usually kill the idea because we evaluate it to death. As you can see here, we just need to run it up the management chain. And everybody has their own agendas of why they want to clip it rather than why they want to move it forward. Or sometimes people look at a new idea by the perspectives they have been used to, their experiences. So they look at, rather than looking at it as a possibility, they look at it as a limitation. If you see here in this cartoon, there's only one person, the lady behind here, who can see it as value. Others, everybody sees it as something that really doesn't add value. So are our perspectives limiting the value we can generate from a new idea, or even preventing us from creating a new idea? Next is, in an organization, how do you treat failure? Not every idea is going to be a winner, right? Some ideas are not going to work, but then probably they will work in a different context, like 3M, right? The scientist who was there to try and make a glue which was super sticky, instead created a glue which was not very sticky, and now that gave rise to post-it notes, right? But if in an organization a new idea is treated as failure and the person is punished for that, it's a tragedy. You're not going to have any more new ideas from that person or from the organization, right? It's the risk that we mentioned. Like I said earlier, innovation means change, but if people are not willing to change, then your idea is going to have a stillbirth. We aren't going to move forward. So these are all rather interesting concepts of how just having an idea is not enough. The idea has to be moved forward through the organization, through the leadership, and made to take off. So it's almost like walking into a shark's mouth, right? In most organizations, rather than welcoming a new idea and turning it around, we usually go through it with such fine detail that by the time we reach the stage gate, that is the time we launch it, two things probably may happen. One, either the opportunity is lost, probably some competitor has come out with the similar or same idea and moved forward. And that's very common in the digital era. Xerox knew about digital photography, but it was Fuji who moved forward with it. Or so either the competition has come or the opportunity is lost. That kind of an idea is no longer wanted now. The opportunity window has closed. So in this way, most of us harm ourselves. Okay. So now what are the benefits of creativity? If I go by a Harvard study, it says it encourages innovation. That means you make ideas which really work. Productivity, because you have ideas that work, people are able to produce more or deliver more in the same time period. You can adapt to the future, which we really don't know we are quite uncertain about the future, right? And it fosters growth. So these are the benefits of creativity as we move forward to move it. And Vijay Govindarajan, a well-known professor earlier at Harvard and now at Tuck, what is the challenge we really have? It's not that we don't have good ideas. It's just that we don't have the managerial skills to convert these ideas into implementation. And that's the unfortunate part of it, right? We cannot convert the ideas into impact and economic value. So what does this lead us to? So when you go through the whole process, once you have the idea, you make it useful, you create improved productivity, right? So this was the earlier thing which we saw of Amabil, which was the expertise that you have, how you rearrange your perspectives to find a creative idea, and then your motivation to make it happen. And then once you have done that, you need the leadership, the management practices, you need the resources to make it happen, and the organization motivation, right? The encouragement to work on it and move forward and create the impact. So this, once the company does it once, it reinforces the method, and so it keeps moving forward. And it's reinforced within the organization. Similarly, now, just to build a little on what Dan said earlier of the different kinds of thinking, when you are exploring something, new ideas, it's divergent thinking. You are looking for different ways to do something where you want to find a result or you want to find a solution. But once you've got different options, then you have to select and modify it to make it workable, right? That's the part here. You explore, then you, through convergent thinking, come about to a selection. And then when you implement and create the productivity or the impact that you need, could be an economic value, could be personal value, something that you are doing it for yourself. So if we were to demonstrate it in a flow, so, it's raining, you need to find a solution to keep yourself dry. You look at, create different choices. And then finally, you select something that works. You create an umbrella. That is your convergent thinking. So both these types of thinking, of divergent thinking, initially to explore solutions, and finally the convergent thing in order to create a workable, practical solution, both are important. Now, why is it so important for the future that we need innovation? The first point is people are uncertain about what's going to happen in the future, whether the companies will prosper. Right now, we have both economic and political challenges in different parts of the world. Right? Now, the important thing is, even if that's going to happen, the productivity per worker needs to improve. Because right now, even if you want to reduce the number of people or we don't find the correct talent, productivity per person has to improve. And therefore, we need to improve employee productivity. The only way you improve employee productivity is by generating ideas which are workable and then can move forward. Right? So here is a research done by McKinsey, which shows that the companies which are innovative, this recent study was in 2022. They show that the companies which are innovative and encourage innovation, they have a significant growth compared to the others. Right? Again, you can also generate substantial value. You can see here how much has been generated through the process of being innovative. New ideas, you stay ahead of the competition, you anticipate trends, you adapt to the trends that are working through so that you can maximize value from it. So it's not just a feel good, it has been proven. Now, from 95 to 2000, there was a bit of a recession. There were challenges in the market. And we are looking at it from a US perspective. Now, two companies which benefited from that were Walmart and Intel. Now, why did Walmart benefit from it? They worked in it, they came out with new ideas, and then they deployed it into IT systems to specifically improve the in-store employee efficiency. So they used their ideas to make a difference. So Walmart benefited from this crisis because it forced them to think differently and to come out with new innovations and implementations. Similarly with Intel. Right? They overhauled their entire production processes to enable quicker shifts, higher value-added products to sustain growth. But not all companies during this period used it to create innovative trends, innovative products which were in line with the trends. There were two industries actually which lost. One was retail banking. These were the failures in the same context, who did not innovate, and the hotels. Why? Because although the retail banking made some significant investments in technology, they did not really train their employees. And we will realize that for people to be innovative, they also need to be trained in it. As we saw in the first diagram of the 3 circles, it was having the skills to be creative, not just having the knowledge. Knowledge is good, but knowledge is stagnant if you don't rearrange it and review it through different perspectives. So retail banking lost, and then again hotels. Again, they couldn't take more value from the revenue system because of lack of employee training and capability building. So significant factors which led to significant losses. So very important to increase a person's productivity. One is the amount of capital per worker. What that means is, what are the kind of tools and technology you supply them with so that they can do well at their work, not just tools and technology and training to do more work, but also to do smart work. And then the factor of human capital, which is how do you educate them? What kind of experiences do you give them? What kind of jobs do you rotate them through so that they build that kind of knowledge and experience to be able to deliver? Now here, I have put 2 aspects here. One is by Harvard, the one on the right, and the one on the left is by McKinsey. Both are based on research. The McKinsey research is more recent, 2023. Harvard research is earlier than that. But if you compare the 2, and that's the reason why I put it here, is they come up with almost similar needs, right? Upskill talent and change how you work. So that means you have to build your expertise. Offset higher prices, wages, etc. That is, how is it that you are going to motivate the people? And if you see it here, invest in capital, technology, and innovation. You have to give people the creative skills. You have to train them to be able to use their knowledge to come up with innovative ideas and work things through. This is a bit of a detailed slide, which I will deal in the next session, which I take. But the important thing is, when we look at this is again a McKinsey study, which says that 4 aspects are important for generating the idea. The person should aspire to make a change, have the ability to choose from what is there, and as they choose, discover new things and improve and evolve on the idea. Whereas the next 4, they should be able to implement them, right? Accelerate the implementation, see if you can scale it up, and then look at how you can extend it into other aspects, into adjacent markets, and finally mobilize the value that you can get out of it. We'll come to that a bit later. So these are some interesting hacks which most people try to use. Okay, you probably have found it. I do like this one. Okay, if we skip meetings and start doing some work, definitely will improve productivity. Some other people believe that coffee improves productivity. Some other organizations believe that you work the person to the bone and then you get productive. Or some others come out with interesting ideas where they, instead of having seats, they have commode seats, right? They want to save time. So productivity is an important aspect, but you need to be smart and sensible in how you use it. And with that, I hand it over to Marcus, who would take you through impressions and build on what we have already said. Over to you, Marcus.
Okay, thank you, Floyd. So I will quickly share my screen. So, okay, do you see my screen already?
Yes, if you could just expand it, the 2 arrows.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect.
Good, perfect, great. So, good. From my side, I will give you a little bit a personal view also on creativity, also on the work environment you need to be creative. And I would like to start with a small story. A story about myself, about my family. I have 3 nephews. three boys. And perhaps you know, when the kids have always topics they love. For example, dinosaurs, cars, or things like snakes, elephants, whatever. There's always such things what they love, and there is a certain time frame where they always talk about these things and love these topics and go deep and deep into these topics. And the middle one of my nephews had this phase with the dinosaurs, and of course I love still dinosaurs. I loved this as a kid, and I still love it, and that's why I always enjoy to play with them when they have these phases. And I remember, I think it was Christmas, some years ago, I was giving him a gift, a dinosaur, right, in a box. And he unpacked it. He played with the dinosaur, was very happy with that. But then something exciting happened. And that what happened is pure creativity. He took that box and he played a whole day with that box. And why did he play with that box? Because this box can be anything, right? It can be a castle, it can be a car, it can be an animal, it can be a fort, it can be anything, right? And that's creativity. And kids have this creativity inside. So what I always see is when we are young, when we are kids, and I think you all were kids, right? So from that side, we had this creativity inside, but then the education system and our work environment is narrowing it down and focusing us on details, because we work a lot with details in our job. And I have to say, I come from the industry. I worked in chemical industry, machine industry, insurance, was always leading the digital transformation. And I complained always that there is too less creativity in the company. And I understood only when I left the corporate world and jumped into my own startups what creativity is. Today I'm running 3 startups, so that means I'm having one startup which is doing social media services, another startup which is doing robotics, so we build physical robots. We are in the prototyping phase, and the next one is doing digital transformation as a service. So very different things. And I noticed I had to relearn creativity to run these different things, because otherwise you can't do it, right? And in the corporate world, I was really structured to think very focused. And this is the interesting point I see. So the topic is, when are you creative? So if I ask you, when are you creative? You will tell me things like, I'm creative when I go jogging. I am creative when I walk the dog, when I'm in the forest, when I'm, I don't know, in holidays, or under the shower is a very famous one. And I think that's the point. You would never say I'm creative when I'm at work, right? And that's the big thing. That's the big topic, which is the big point for companies. So what we need more is playfulness. What we need more in companies is this, this creation of ideas. And we are, let's say it's there is a model which is like an iceberg or like a mountain, and we get our experiences like a river. That means the river is cutting deep into the mountain. If you've worked 20 years in car manufacturing, you know exactly how a car is manufactured. You know all details, but exactly this is the problem, because then you can't be creative anymore. You can't be thinking out of the box. And the companies who start new in the car industry, like Tesla, they were thinking completely new. They had not so many people who came out of car industry. And that's why this playfulness, this going outside, makes such a huge impact. When we look at our, there are research of that things, and a lot of there are research of that, and I have here a research from a research institute, and we are pressured to be productive at work. Our work is styled to be productive. Our workplace is exactly in that way designed that we are productive and not creative. And that's exactly this big problem. So when you think of our brain and when we look inside our brain, there are 4 states, and probably Sandeep will talk more about that. I just want to show you these 4 states, and we normally work in beta or alpha state, which means we are working and focusing because we do something which needs our full attention. But when we work with our full attention, then there is no way to be creative. And how can we be creative when we are doing programming work? This is beta state or alpha state. And theta state would be creativity, right? And that's why it's very important to look at the environment. How can we be in an environment, in a corporation that is creative, and on the other side, that is productive? So being creative, and we heard that before, means also thinking different. And linear thinking means we do our process like we've done it before. And I saw that so many times in companies when I came in, changed things with technology, with digital transformation. People were still thinking in their box. They were not thinking in a new way. And that takes time because you are used to think like you think. You have your mental models and you are in these models stuck. And that takes a long time till you think really different. So what helps always, and that's one thing what I just want to mention, is bring in different thinkers. So bring in people from outside. So if you do a workshop, if you do something which is meant to be creative, then bring someone in who is not in your industry. Bring a doctor in, bring a psychologist in, bring a person in from a completely different industry, a person who is allowed to ask stupid questions. And then you will understand that you get more creative and more and better ideas. So other points I want to mention is create an inspiring workplace. And that's also the point. Create it there when you need to be creative, not when you need to be productive, right? What I also had in one company, I had everywhere brainstorming walls. What it means is you could write on all walls. So there were always pens around, you could just write. And interesting was the people were writing when they went to the coffee. When they went to the restroom, on the way to the restroom, they were thinking something and then they were writing ideas just on the wall. And other people just followed the ideas and made them bigger and made them into another direction. And in that way, we created new ideas and new thoughts. Failure culture is something very big and especially I think a big topic in Europe because we are still coming with a lot of old classical industries, machine industry, chemical industries, where it's not allowed to make failure in the culture and people are scared to talk about failures. If you change that, that changes a lot. And other points is allow suggestions, allow discussions. And that's also a big cultural topic. If you think of different nations, it's different. If you discuss with someone from the Netherlands, then you discuss with someone from Italy, because the culture has here a huge impact. But you need to have a model for your company that works and for your company where you can bring out the best ideas, right? And the best creativity. I think continuous learning is clear for you. I think that's something we just don't need to discuss. And the last one, seeking inspiration from diverse sources. I always try to hire also people that had a different background. And I see a lot in industry, when you look in certain industry, they always hire people from the same industry. And that's the risk you have to be not creative. So if you bring in people from other industries, there is a big opportunity to think into other directions. So the environment really matters. The environment is really important for creativity. And that's my big learning also when I compare the startup world and classical corporate. Okay, that's the summary from my side. And I just hand over to Sandeep, who will go deeper into yeah, into our brain, and I'm very curious to hear more from you, Sandeep.
Thank you, Marcus, sir. So I'll be just talking briefly about the tools and techniques boost creativity. Shall I
I think
share the
Dr.
screen slides, or
internet
should I?
is kind of lagging.
let me-
Network is lagging a little.
Pardon.
Your network is lagging a little bit. It's okay now.
Right, okay. Able to present that slide, ma'am?
You want me to present the slide?
Yeah. Will you be able
Okay,
to?
sure. So I'll just share the screen. Just a second.
Host disable participants screen sharing, so I might have to be made a co-host to share the slide. I'm not a co-host, so probably you can make me a co-host, or yourself can.
Yeah, it's done. It's done. You can share it now. So sorry.
I am present. Okay.
That's the one.
Before there was a presenter. Okay, I'll have to be more creative here to share. There was a.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about. That's fine. Perfect.
I'm not able to click here. Yeah, now I hope you're able to see my screen.
Yeah, just you need to expand it.
Are you all able to see my screen?
Just expand it.
Oh, is it still to be? I mean, for me.
Yeah.
I have already done that for me.
That's a little better. And the two arrows at the bottom?
Okay.
The two diagonal arrows at the bottom. Yeah,
Now
that's
with
perfect. Yeah, perfect. You can.
Techniques to boost creativity. We already had good lecture from other speakers about what creativity really is, and about linear thinking, lateral thinking, and so many concepts. Already our dear speakers brought. So just some simple technique that we can think about. Brainstorming and idea generation techniques like mind mapping, Scamper, six thinking, some concepts which people have come about with. And of course, just we can go through what it, and we'll have our own creative ideas about how to go about when we try to solve some problem. Then there are collaborations, tools and that facilitate creative collaboration. Then creative problem solving frameworks, techniques, design thinking. So I'll just go into the slides again.
Sandeep, can I interrupt for a quick moment? Can I interrupt for a quick moment? I really want to make sure everyone hears you. It's so important. Could you maybe turn your video off? I think that would help. I think the bandwidth issue causing a problem.
There is disturbance. The sound, there's a problem.
Yeah, let's try that.
Okay. Now am I more audible, more clearer?
Much better. Thank you. Perfect.
Oh, thank you. So probably suddenly some bandwidth, some internet lag would have happened. So
Oh, doctor, we can't hear at all.
Yeah, it's gotten
that central idea. So that problem,
Yes, you've come.
you're
You
not
may
able
have
to
to
hear
just
me?
yeah, you have to
Oh,
recap a little bit. We lost like half a minute.
okay, okay. Yeah. So, shall I? Mm, Activity here. 7 letters. Solutions to challenge.
Doctor, we still have a problem.
Something else. So sorry. I don't know what. Am I audible?
Yeah, right now, yeah. But again, it
I
comes
mean,
and goes.
shall I? If you give me half a minute, I'll go downstairs to my Wi-Fi room so
Yes,
that I
sure.
will
Yeah, that's
be
fine.
closer to my Wi-Fi and try again. Would that?
That'll be fine.
Okay,
That'll be
give
fine.
me a minute.
Yeah,
Once.
sure. Take your time.
Sorry. In the meanwhile, some questions or
Meanwhile, we
polls or
can
something like
release
that,
a
if somebody
poll.
can take up an answer.
Yes, we'll do a poll. Meanwhile,
Yeah, we
that's
can
fine.
do. Yeah, great.
We'll do a poll. We'll just release. Okay, Floyd, you want to talk? You're muted. You're muted, Floyd.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes,
Hello?
perfect.
Yeah. I think given that we've shared with people, what perspectives are on creativity, innovation, etc., I think it'll be great if they can kind of reflect this back in their organizations and answer the questions to the poll. Where do they think their organizations are in terms of innovation? Where their departments are with reference to, the organization, where the organization is with reference to competition. And once you take that a bit forward, you can also say, okay, 4 years from now, based on the kind of innovation or innovative climate we have and the way we expect things to happen, would we be market leaders or just be holding on to our market share? Or do you think we would be losing market share? Because at the end of the day, the purpose of a good idea is to create good value. So it'll be interesting to see what the poll says.
Yeah, Floyd, just could you talk on this one? I think we just kind of misplaced the poll.
Okay.
So this is the
How
first
do you
one.
rate the innovation capability of your organization compared to your competition? Right. Because if your competitors are being more innovative than you and coming out with better, say, customer service, better customer experience, even better employee experience, then do you think that if you are better, that's great. You're way ahead. But if you're not, I think it's going to be something you need to think about and see if you can apply what the ideas you've learned here back in either your department, within your team, or within your organization. And like we said earlier, you need to be courageous if you want to be creative and make a difference.
So you want to read the result?
Okay, so we've got
No,
yeah, we've got 25% saying below, 50% saying as good, and 25% saying better, which is interesting. I think for those who feel they are better, they need to keep doing what they are doing. So to gradually move to far ahead. Those who are below, of course, practical ideas which you can take from here, or at least now that you see that there's something you need to do to improve, you can start working on it. Being as good is great, but not for a long time, because if you don't work on getting better, competition could get ahead of you. So that it's an interesting one. Bissy, you want to put the next question? Bissy, you've put the next poll. Yep.
Yeah.
Now that you have rated your organization as a single unit, how do you think your own department compared to the rest of the organization? Are you in sync with them? Are you a step ahead? Are you falling behind and you need to kind of step up with the innovation that's happening? And by this, I don't mean that the R&D department is always more creative than the engineering department or than the HR department. It's all depends on how you rearrange the facts you have into different perspectives to generate new methods of working or delivering value or creating value. And that becomes important. Okay, I think everyone has voted. So we've got 40% who says they are below. Now, that's actually a good way to start, because if you feel you are below, there's a great scope for improvement. And what you could do is probably look at the departments within your organization that you believe are more creative than you are, or your department is, and see if there is something you can take from them and adapt it and use it in your own department. Similarly, for people who are as good, look at those who are better and see what you could do. And one dangerous thing in innovation or creativity, we try to look for ideas within our organization or within our department. It will be a great thing if you even look outside your organization, sometimes even outside your industry. So see what similar departments are doing differently to improve their processes or to improve their the way they do work. A nice way to start is probably get feedback from your customers, either internal or external. Find out what are their pain points and see then how you can brainstorm, sometimes with your customer, to get a process or a method or doing something or not doing something so that you can reduce their pain points. So I think the half the thing here is to be honest with ourselves. Once we've been honest with ourselves and we know from where we need to start and the direction in which we need to go, we can then make the efforts in that direction. Great, thank you. And we'll do one more, the third one.
Oh, okay. Sure.
So, like I said earlier, yeah. Given now that you have said, okay, this is the way my organization stands in terms of innovation, and this is how my department stands with reference to the organization. Based on that, how do you think your company is going to progress within its industry relevant to its competition in the next 4 years? Yeah. Or if you want to say 5 years. So by 2028, do you think the way you are going now, you are going to get a market leader position, strong, or you're going to gain market share? That means you're going to get better than where you are. Or you'll be able to defend your market share. You know, you're as good as anybody else, or you're going to give the customer a really challenging decision-making process to select your products over the competition? Or do you think you'd be losing market share? Because at the end of the day, all of us work with our organizations in terms of the quality, quantity of work and the ideas that we generate and implement. We all want to win in the market, right? We want the customer who has a limited amount of economic means to be able to use that, preferring our products, our services over the competition. So that's a very interesting score. We've got gaining market share 50%, holding your market share 50%. So we don't have at the other two ends, which is nobody believes that they're going to be a market leader, but equally important, nobody believes that they are going to be losing market share. So whatever the answers you feel you have given here, try and see how holding can get you into gaining and how gaining can get you to move into a market leader position, or at least in the top 2 positions, what they call, a podium position. We've got the Paris Olympics starting this month on the 26th. So can you get a podium position? At least you are in the top 3, of assuming that there are not only 3 companies in your industry. So can you do something different, but that's useful for your customer or for your internal or external customer, that will help you move forward. Thank you for participating in the poll. Thank you, Bissy, for administering it. I think we can get back to Dr. Sandeep now.
Yeah, Doctor, you're back. Maybe you should just start again. So we kind of lost.
that I share my slides again. Yeah. So now you're able to see my slides and you're able to see me and hear me clearly.
Yes, very clear.
Okay. Yeah. So the scamper model I was talking about, I was just telling about the mind mapping and the previous slide. We just go to the previous slide. The brainstorming and idea generation techniques like mind mapping from a central idea, how we create a network of different ideas and like a web, to get a holistic picture of some problem. We can use that mind mapping techniques. The scamper is this acronym standing for S for substitute, replace a part, material, or process with something else. And C stands for combine. That means join or combine elements, ideas, or functions together in new ways, or find a new element you can merge with. So that is not something that we usually think about, but I mean, just to think in different ways, adapt. That means modify or adapt something to better suit a new purpose, person, or context. So in each of our workplaces, in each one of our problem solving context, we may have to adapt. Then modify, enlarge, reduce, change the shape, or alter attributes. Can a small change have a big effect? Is what we have to think. Then P for put to another use. Rather than changing the thing itself, consider changing the context it exists in. Eliminate. That means remove remove elements, simplify or pare down to essentials. Is less more. Sometimes eliminating some things will be more useful. Reverse, flip the script, reorder your priorities, invert cause and effect, and turn it all upside down, and then everything will be okay in a better position. So that's a scamper model. Then the six thinking hats, just six colored hats, uh, just to represent in what all ways we can think differently. The white hat, where we have the data, facts, and information, what we know and what we ought to find out. The blue hat, where we manage the process, listens, directs attention, integrates, move forward. The yellow hats, where there is a sunshine and positivity, the optimism, possibilities, upsides, potential. Then the red hat is there, feelings, reactions, and vibes, how we feel, gut instincts, honest emotions, intuition. Then the black hat, caution and skepticism, dangers, threats, risks, drawbacks, worst case scenarios we have to think about. Then the green hat, creativity and surprise, alternatives, reframing, out of the box ideas, what if this happens. So like the thick six thinking hats. Then there is something called this TRIS method. TRIS method is an organized, systematic, and creative problem-solving framework. The TRIS method was developed in 1946 by Soviet inventor and author Hendrik Altschuler, who studied thousands of inventions across many industries to determine if there were any patterns in innovation and the problems encountered. So, first of all, we gather the necessary information, organize the information in a structured way, transform the information to a generic problem, then trying to make sense of what is collected. And then we can combine this design thinking and TRIS. So, where we, in the graph, there is this imagination axis and the knowledge axis. So, we empathize, we define the problem. There will be this general problem, general solution, specific problem, specific solution, prototypes. So we understand the customer needs, exploration based on the state of the art, patents, and other industries research, then materialize the best idea like that. Yeah, then over to the next speaker who will be taking on from here.
Thank you, Dr. Sandeep. Dan,
Yeah,
you need to come on.
I am on, and I'm going to share my screen and jump right in here. should do it. All right, let's go full screen here. All right, I hope everyone's having fun. I'm going to keep it fast because I know we still have quite a bit to do, and it is about we have about 25 minutes left or so. So I think we've all been, I love the way we've all been addressing creativity in different ways. I think there's a few themes that continue to resurface, and that is, creating the space for creativity, really defining what creativity is. I loved the story that Marcus told about creativity around, if you can, the imagine if that something you're playing with can really become anything, and just opening up the mind to possibilities. And what I want to talk about is a little bit is how do we empower that in the organization, in the workplace, in your team, and in life too. I don't want to draw a straight line between work and life. I think they're very interrelated in many ways. So I want to talk a little bit about how do we allow creativity to flourish, like a flower blooming, and how do we challenge ourselves, right? So I hate to say it like this, but how do we operationalize creativity to some degree within the organization, right? So some of the barriers are, and this has come up a few times, right? This is just the way we do it. It's good enough. So that's sort of that routine thinking. And the old saying, if it's not broken, don't worry about fixing it, right? Not good enough in a world that needs constant attention, in a world that is changing more rapidly than we've ever seen. The commitment to being creative, to pushing boundaries, to introducing new ideas is more important now than it's ever been. The third barrier kind of is similar to what I was the first two, is it's just the risk aversion. It's the fear side of it. And I said this earlier, right? I mean, it's more of a risk not to take a risk, right? So I ask everybody listening to this, it's okay, right, to explore creativity and try to push it forward, even if it stumbles, because the only thing that's going to happen is you're going to learn. You're going to learn, and as you learn your ideas and what you think through, and I can't remember who said this, creativity, ultimately, for it to be successful, needs to add value, right? Value at the human level, at the organization level, at the individual level, whatever that might be. And that's absolutely true. And the more we learn, the more we can effectively kind of operationalize and really drive creativity within the organization. Another one is too quick to say, no, that's not going to work. Too quick to judgment, right? And that's that lack of empathy, right? Sort of holding on to your perspective and not being willing to listen to a different perspective, and so quick to judge, or just not willing to listen to other ideas because you want to have ownership over it, right? And that's a whole conversation around leadership, right? The goal of great leadership is to empower those people around them and to lift them up and let their ideas flourish. And then shutting down your imagination, that happens. I think we all do that, and this comes down to it's mainly fear. It's sometimes routine. We get stuck in something that's comfortable, and you know how it is. You come up with a great idea, and then you're like, well, I'll worry about that later. The older I get, like when I say I can do it tomorrow, I catch myself. I'm like, well, why not do it today? Right? I mean, we're not. The more often we can challenge ourselves and not shut down our imagination. I mean, our imagination is a beautiful thing, and imagination is what drives change more than anything. And then, I think working space, this is just, it is a barrier. It primarily when we just, our people are separated and they're kind of, we're not able to stimulate conversation, and that's more, there's always opportunity there. And it's in a world that's much more hybrid than it's ever been and remote than it's ever been. There's, we have to pay attention to that too. So ultimately, there is a lack of resources. So there's opportunity to make sure that resources are in place, right? And this is everything from empowering leaders, empowering your leadership of the organization, empowering teams to come up with new ideas. We need to reduce fear of failure. And how do you do that? You let people fail. It's crazy as it sounds. It's like I'm not a dad. I now sort of am a kind of a co-parent now in my life, but when a kid is growing up, you eventually let them walk, or when a bird has to fly, they get kicked out of the nest, they have to flap their wings. Eventually you have to sort of be willing to fail. You have to be willing, you just have to go. Lack of diversity. And this is key. I mean, and when I talk about diversity here, I'm talking about diversity and inclusion across the board, from ideas to generation to gender to sexual orientation to ethnicity, to you name it, right? Bringing different people together is the most beautiful opportunity human beings have to drive creativity. Different ideas, different experiences. So, there's a whole webinar on that. So I'll just make that sentence very brief and succinct. And yeah, we have to fight resistance to change. And I think the way you do that is, I talk about this often, anyone who maybe has seen me speak, and I have a quote that I say, and that is, change is not about arrival, change is about momentum. We too often create, like any creativity that drives innovation, success is based on some arrival, which is absolutely a flawed way to think about change and progress. We have to look at progress and change by looking at momentum and speed, because that's how we keep going. You never really arrive, and if you're trying to judge arrival, you can never dial in exactly when we're going to arrive. And so organizations set arbitrary timelines and completion dates and KPIs, which I'm not suggesting we don't do that. I'm suggesting pay attention to momentum. And that helps you, I think, in my experience, and I would argue it for anybody, helps build in a better tolerance for resistance to change. And lack of autonomy, empowerment is so key for driving creativity. You have to let people and empower people. You have to let people think, give them voice, give them space, let them ideate. So the last slide here is some techniques, and I'm just going to go to the right-hand side. Number one, brainstorming, or if you play jazz, I'm a musician, so if you play music, or you're in a jazz band, or you're in a rock band, or whatever you might be, brainstorming is also like synonymous with jamming, right? You kind of jam and you come up with ideas, and you get a riff and you get an idea, like, oh, that's cool, that's a good chorus, or that's, so it's the idea of brainstorm, let things simmer, and there's an art to that. And within brainstorming, you do want to encourage the individual, right? And because the more you encourage the individual, the more empowered they are, the more they feel a part of that creative change, the more they feel a part of that growth. Again, the best leaders, when you have a decision to make that requires creative decision, the best leader will come into a room and not say, here's what we're going to do, but they'll come into the room and ask the room, what do you think we should do? That sets the stage for individuals feeling empowered, individuals feeling like they're a part of the change moving forward. And you have to provide a stimulating atmosphere. This is just through energy, whatever that might be. We can define that in many ways, but stimulation is key. And stagnation, it's like a pond that has algae on it and mosquitoes everywhere, right? It doesn't inspire us, and we'll just put bug spray all over us, right? So you want to stimulate, you want an atmosphere that is refreshing, and there's different ways to get there. You do want, anonymous suggestions, of course, and that's so giving people space not just to share, but to also give their opinion in a way that is, if there are opinions, people need to feel safe. And that's ultimately about psychological safety more than anything, and that is critical to any creative environment and really any culture that has long-term success. Act on good ideas, and I would argue you don't know if it's a good idea always, so act on ideas, right? Act on ideas. Give ideas a chance. And there's plenty of things, if we go back in history, that people thought, like, you got to be kidding me. We're going to do what? And it's changed, and these things have changed the world, right? Think about the Blockbuster video. I don't know if, for those who don't know, that was the video store where you go in and you'd actually get a VHS tape or a DVD, and then you had Netflix starting to stream, and Blockbuster ultimately laughed at the idea that people would ever stream something. And there was I think actually Blockbuster had an opportunity to acquire Netflix, or maybe Netflix tried to acquire, but I can't remember the story. But anyway, it was Blockbuster thought Netflix were a joke because things were never going to change. Of course, why would people ever do anything other than walk into a store and get something to put into a VHS, right? So, like, this is the type of you have to drive ideas and allow change to take place, and even if we don't know we need it yet. And then diversity of thinking, diversity of people, equity and equitable hiring decisions and pay and all these things just need to be in place. I always talk about this as removing the sharp edges in any organization, right? If you want a creative workplace, remove the sharp edges, remove the stuff that distracts you. If you spend 40% of your time because you're not paying women the rates that they should be paid, or you're not hiring properly a diverse leadership team, whatever these sharp edges might be, all of the energy goes there, and you lose such an opportunity to drive creativity. So remove sharp edges in your organization. I can't say that enough. And you what they are. You got to just fix them. There's this stuff, there's stats out there that are depressing, right? So we need to be better there. And that allows us then to leverage the best of people and the best creative minds in the workplace. And that's how we foster and support a work culture that, to the bottom left, supports work-life balance and mental health. Mental health is real, by the way, right? And it isn't just burnout, go on vacation for a week. We have to have resources in place for our people. We have to encourage open communication and feedback. We have to build trust in the workplace. We have to recognize, we have to appreciate, we have to create and constantly be creating opportunities for development. And if we get all these things right, or as many of them right as we can, and when I say right, again, it's always momentum. We're always working to get better, and we're always working to achieve excellence. That's going to help remove sharp edges, create a foundation that will foster and drive incredible, creative, and beautiful organizational culture. So that would be my practical tips. And we can turn it over to Floyd for measuring creativity and impact.
Thank you, Dan. So I'll start sharing mine. Can you see the screen?
Yeah, just expand it.
Sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
perfect.
Bissy, good to go? Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay. Okay, so if we look at all that we've been saying so far, and this is a continuation, a build up on what the last slide which I showed you in my previous session, as well as a build up on what Marcus and Dan, Bissy, and Doctor have all mentioned. Now, the first four, and this is based on a McKinsey study, which was done after the COVID-19 crisis, on how they can work on moving companies into innovation. Because after COVID, as we all know, many companies have suffered financially, a lot of people have lost their jobs, and we are still limping back into the regular that we had before COVID. We are trying to get, although it's now the new normal of these things happening. So the first four, which you see on the top, have got to do with the process of creating new ideas. And the four below have got to do with converting those ideas into workable or rather innovative solutions. So do first at a leadership level, do we accept that we need to be innovative, or do we as an organization believe that what got us here will continue to take us where we want to be? And in a world that is changing so rapidly, where so many things are uncertain, I'm sure many of you all have heard the phrase VUCA, right? The acronym VUCA, which we are living in a world that's volatile, uncertain, totally complex, and A is for ambiguous, right? So the future is difficult to foretell. So in that, we have to first believe that this is what we need. We need to aspire to be innovative. Then we have, if that's what we need, we've got to choose to invest time, resources, etc., to work in that direction. Then we have to look at what is it that we can do differently. Look at rearranging, challenging our assumptions. Usually that's half the problem, right? We have certain beliefs that and thinking structures that we believe is the best way forward, but many of them have probably reached an expiry date. They need to be taken off the shelf and replaced with something that's more relevant. Now, then evolve. If once we've decided and discovered this, how do we change our operating business model? Which makes a big difference, right? Look at what we are doing today, right? In the old days, I mean, probably that shows my age, but people would go into classroom sessions and take leave and travel for training. Today, you can do a conversation, useful conversation with like-minded people sitting in the comfort of your home through the technology that we have. Things have changed, times have changed, and things have adapted accordingly. Many companies, many of the ones which I consult as well, the travel budget has been slashed. Why? Because if you can do it over Zoom, you don't need to travel. Saves a lot of time, saves effort, and the people are available where they need to be. Now, once we've got our ideas together and we've decided how we are going to move forward, then you got to execute it, right? You execute it. You have to, of course, accelerate your execution because you don't want to lose the window of opportunity. And if it's working, you know what's doing well, you want to scale it up. Then you want to extend it. If it's worked really well, you're getting results, you want to see if you can extend the same thing with adaptations into adjacent businesses or into adjacent departments where you can do it. And then once you've been successful, never forget the people who made you successful, right? How are you rewarding them? And are you organizing yourself through your processes as well as through performance and profits invested back into the business to motivate people, right? Are you continuing to do that? So this makes a big difference. So the first four on the top are for getting creative. The four below is for getting innovative and continue to keep that innovation loop moving. Now, if we look at it from a different perspective, I'm sure all of us, or at least many of us, have heard the story of the golden goose, right? So the important thing, if you look at the goose as the organization with all of us in it, right, made up of the quality of leadership, culture, the talent we hire, the strategy we use, you can have a great team with the bad strategy and excellent execution, you won't reach anywhere. And vice versa, right? You can have a great strategy with poor execution, you won't reach anywhere. The resources, the processes you have. And one of the most important processes is having a feedback process. You monitor stuff, you see how things are moving, you make changes. You don't just have a strategy in January and then you look at it in December and you say, oh my God, what have we done, right? It's a continuous process, because based on that, you get your results. These are the golden eggs you get. If you've taken good care of the goose, you will get your golden eggs as a result of it, right? So having said that, when we talk about creativity, or what's called the creativity quotient, there are 4 things that we need to look at, okay? Fluency means how many ideas are we able to generate given the challenge that we are trying to solve. Then is flexibility, which talks about what is the variety of approaches which we have taken in terms of the solution. Are all our solutions an extension of each other, or are they looking at different approaches? Originality is how are you rearranging your stuff, right? Are you coming out with original ideas? And finally, what are the details of it? Because this is where it happens, where you then are able to implement and execute the idea once you elaborate the details. This model was through the American psychologist Guilford, who was educated at Cornell and then went on to teach at various leading institutions. He was also head of the Psychological Association. He was the president of the Psychological Association in the US as well. Now let's look at, we've used these wonderful words. Let's see what do we mean by it. So I've got a small example here, okay? In fact, one of my clients uses it for recruitment, okay? So what do we say? We tell candidates that within a period of 2 minutes, use this circle, okay, as a base to draw whatever you want, right? You can expand it. So now let's look at these examples and say fluency. Fluency tells us how many responses did we generate? And if you see, the first candidate, Anna, has got a large number of responses, right? So great fluency. Then we look at flexibility. Propose a variety of approaches or different types of responses. Now, if you look at the second candidate, Benji, he's not just looked at faces, right? He's not given us a variety of faces. He's included a different one, which is a wheel. Then he's included another one, which is a ball. So he's giving us more flexibility in the way he's thinking. He's using different approaches. Then we look at originality. Now, when we look here, okay, we've got Carol who's given us a wheel, but the wheel was there before. Other people have also given it to us. She's given us another ball, which is something different. But if we go to Darlene, now her originality is something she's thought of, which no one else has thought of, right? She's got a bomb and a balloon, something none of the other candidates have got. But now when you look at all these and you look at elaboration, right? Elaboration is what is the level of detail the person has given. You look at the person at the bottom, Eric, he's given you significant amount of detail, although he's still drawn a face, right? So then you decide based on the kind of job you have in mind or the position, what kind of creativity, then you can give a ranking for all these, right? You can give out of 10, probably Anna here got 7, but she didn't probably get much in flexibility or originality. So you can give a marking system for yourself. And of course, this will not be the only test on which you make a decision, but this could give you an insight into the person, right? How they think, how creative are they? So these things make a difference. These 4 elements on creativity helps you to put together a kind of a metric which you want to look at when you are exploring options to solve problems. Taking that forward, now we talk the importance of creativity is in creating value, right? So that means we need to create innovation. Now there are innovation maturity models which tell you, you can probably say, where does my company lie on this model? Now, of course, at the end, this one is where you are optimizing, you're doing a great job, level 5. The first one is you are getting started initial. You realize that we need to develop our innovation capability. That's the first step. You accept the fact and you realize the fact that things need to change. Then you begin to put in place a few policies, procedures, reward systems, and you start moving in that direction. Once you are here, level 3 capable, which is here, right? You are able, people understand it. It's happening through many departments in the organization. You've got a structured way because even innovation and ideas need a discipline, right? Because you want to create value out of it. And then you move to a higher level, level 4, where you begin to have practices. You're beginning to create value out of it. You're creating ideas that is bringing in economic value or bringing in customer or employee experiences that are valued and better than before. You're able to attract talent. You're able to ensure customer loyalty, things like that. And level 5, once it is a continuous process, right? It's happening. You don't have to pay specific attention. It has become the culture of the organization. So when you look at it, like we said earlier, what is the important elements which you can look at? It's your leadership, the culture, the social aspects of it, how people are interacting with each other, and governance. How is the company managed? And this part is execution right here. Explore and how you do this entire thing. So there are also surveys that companies organize, right? For the innovation maturity model, this is an international system, right? Where you can get surveys done within your organization. And this is, of course, just how a survey would look like. You would know, okay, in this case, we need to improve on certain specific aspects of it, right? Like here, they're doing well in these 2 orange bars, which is the culture. But here you need to improve. You need to improve on probably in goals and sharing things. So it gives you an idea. You need to improve in leadership right here in this element. So there are things you can do. So once you take that step, as always, it comes down to these 5 elements. Right? Is your leadership encouraging innovation? Do you have a culture that supports innovation? Fear of failure is taken off. Resources, of course, you have a great idea. You also need resources. You need the talent, you need the money, and you need the market where you could apply. Processes in terms of feedback to monitor, and then finally monitor, measure, and reward. So these things become very important as you go forward in implementing it. Now, this is once you have largely reached your level 3, 4, and 5, then things begin to become like a loop, right? In the sense of it drives itself. In fact, if you have specific influencers in the organization who could work with this with you or with the leadership, then this becomes a continuous process. It's almost, for lack of a better word, autopilot, right? You have a loop where you identify what issues are, you do an ideation, you work with the problem, you create ideas into solutions, you see how that solution could impact the restructuring of your business model. And then once it's working, you scale it up. And nowadays you have other things that work with it, right? You have software, you have lean startup models, business model canvas. These are other things that you could use, right? Besides what we talked about, design thinking, etc. So all this makes a difference as you go forward. Now, what are the benefits for the employee as well as for the organization? Employee well-being, you are able to attract talent and customers because your brand identity improves. Financial returns improve. You're able to transform quickly and move into new trends, and it sparks innovation. So all these things, when you start working from innovation to productivity, this is how all of us will benefit from it. So my last slide, which says, innovation is hard, like how you get a kite off the ground, but once it's there, it's really worth it. And these things need to be looked at. The leadership is at the heart of everything, right? They drive the culture, they drive the team formation and rewards, they drive processes, they ensure people are able to communicate without fear of porous boundaries. There's no fear of failure. You can make a suggestion, but if it doesn't work, you're not going to be penalized for it. And you have the resources to make it happen. And that's where I end this session. Bissy, I hand it over to you.
Yes, Floyd, thank you. What an amazing session. I think all the speakers I think everyone should come on board. Dan, Marcus, what an amazing session. So much of information, so much of data. Wow. Oh, where is Dr. Sandeep? Okay. Let us see if there is any questions that are being asked. Okay. So go to chats. Oh. See anything?
There's some question that just came in. Let's see.
Okay, go ahead, Dan.
On my hand, I'm just sorry, I have to move my glasses.
Oh yeah,
down.
I got it. Hi all. Thank you for the informative talks. A small question I had was, how do I get my creative ideas recognized by my organization when I'm not directly in a position that requests my opinion on our decision, on our company decision. So who wants to go first? I think that's like a whole spectrum of opinions there. A lot of information you can give.
You know,
Could
I'll,
I? Okay.
oh,
Okay,
no,
then.
please
Up
go
to
ahead.
you.
You know, I'll give a really fast answer to this. Be fearless, meaning don't be shy. Even if you're not in that position, you know, talk to your manager, talk to your team, say, I have an idea. It never hurts to try. And you want an organization that embraces ideas and gives a platform for everybody. If you don't have it, you know, you can be a part of that change, right? A part of helping drive great ideas forward. Like I said earlier, some of the best ideas come from the quietest people or the people that don't have a platform. So bring it up, ask, and it's amazing what might happen if you put yourself out there. And I know it can be scary, kind of fear of rejection, fear of, oh, I don't, you know, that idea isn't good. But that would be my quick feedback.
If I may add to what Dan said, now you believe you have a creative idea that can add value. So if you know who is the person or department who will directly benefit or have the maximum benefit from your idea, right? I would suggest that you have a chat with that person, understand what is their pain point, right? Maybe the idea you have will have a direct impact on what he is doing, or maybe it will have an indirect impact. But once you go and speak with that person or persons, understand their perspective of the problem. Now, unfortunately, sometimes we think we have a great idea for a problem, and the other person who could benefit doesn't think it's an important problem. So first, I would request you to do that. Connect with the person who you believe can have the maximum value. Speak to him, ask him, you know, I think there is this problem. What do you think of it? And once you get that, once you get his buy-in that you are there to help him, you are not there to threaten his existence or show that you are, because people accept a lot of ideas based on an emotional need, right? They feel, okay, so you are trying to tell me how to run my job, I mean, how to run my department, or you think I'm not smart enough, you're smarter than you. Unfortunately, sometimes those boundaries people carry in their mind. So first try and get an understanding of what the problem is, and then put across your suggestion, saying that this is what you think could help, and ask them for their feedback. Maybe the way you are presenting your solution now may not exactly work it. So maybe you have to adapt it. Maybe you have to make a few changes to your solution. So that's what I would suggest. The most important thing in any organization is two. One is to have a relationship, and all relationships are based on trust, right? So that's the first thing. Get to know the person, get to know the problem, and then suggest your solution as a way which helps them to either meet their goals or have a better personal and professional life. Thank you.
Absolutely. Marcus, do you want to say something?
No, I think it's good. It's good. So
Yeah.
from my point also, my point is go to the people and tell them. I think that's the important point. And sometimes it's also easier than you think. Just go to the CEO and have dinner together. Sometimes it just works. I saw that also, and just do it.
Mhm.
Okay.
Great,
I
but
think
great
thank you.
question though, and a very real reality question, and that's why I think these conversations are so important. Kind of we want to break down barriers, you know, and drive change forward. So, thanks for that
Yeah.
question.
So there's a thank you for Sir Dan, Sir Floyd. I'll definitely be fearless and mindful of how I approach my manager with my suggestions. Thank you so much. Okay, so I don't see any other questions. Let me just check. Yeah. This culture.
I think Parul has raised a hand. I don't know if she wants to ask a question.
Hi there. Can you guys hear me?
Oh, yes, we can. Carl,
Okay.
you want to put on your video and you can come on the stage.
I would love to, but right now I'm in a public area. I don't think it would be the best. Thank you so much once again for an amazing talk from all of you. I'm so glad I came to this because I actually did have a question. So I used to run a youth nonprofit named Athletic Intellect, and I found that with youth my age, in order to be comfortable enough to share creative ideas, it's very important to like kind of have that connection with that person that I'm working with. So I found that in multiple departments, these would be peers my age that I would be leading. And even though we all are on the same age and like, on the same page with everything, in order to be comfortable enough to share their ideas, some of them would be hesitant to approach me if, let's say I didn't really get to know them well, or I didn't really have a good relationship with them. So my question to you guys is, how can I foster a better relationship specifically with youth, so people maybe younger than me or my same age, in order for them to be comfortable enough to share their creative ideas?
That's a lovely question. I mean, the youth is the voice today, right? I mean, that's the generation that's going to be the future workforce. Yes.
Yeah.
So, Marcus, you want to say anything to Parul?
So I think the topic is we are all humans. We all need trust, right? And that's the basis of a lot of things we do, also business and also working together. And I think you when you get to know each other better, so you need to have some time together, right? You need to go together for coffee, you need to talk with each other more, and then it gets a trusted connection. That's my experience. And then it's going easier also to suggest something and to talk about critical things, to talk about ideas, to just suggest creative topics. And that's what I experienced. And I work in very diverse teams all around the globe. They sit in all kind of countries, the people, and they are all kind of ages, a lot of also young people. And I think the importance is to have these connections with each other, build this connection with each other, and then it works.
Yeah, I'll second that. Well said. If you connect on LinkedIn too, so this is a topic I speak about so often, and it's kind of how do we show up as our authentic self, and how do we really bring that kind of whole person, see me, hear me, this is who I am, this is what I stand for. And that importance of getting to know each other outside of the work context, but also within the work context, and that really helps drive building trust and across generations, as we're now pretty much into 6 generations in the workplace. And so I've done a couple webinars on that. I have a couple research papers on that in my company, and happy to share some of that with you if that's helpful. We have some pretty interesting ideas around how do you do that. I think there's some real basic things, just listening, asking, especially younger workers, getting to know what makes them tick, right? Their DNA, what matters to them. That helps to build trust too. Asking simple questions like how are you doing, right? And respecting that. If someone is having an off day, understanding that, hearing that. And then it just helps build that builds trust in the workplace. Versus just jumping right down to business, right? Here's the agenda, here's what we're focused on. So I completely agree. And that's a real important opportunity. And across from a generational standpoint, there's an incredible opportunity to learn from each other too. And I just did a webinar on that. We kind of broke that apart, generations, and we had some really interesting data that you could watch in the webinar. So connect with me on LinkedIn or any of us, and I'm happy to share some stuff. It's a great. Yeah.
If I may add to what Dan and Marcus said, I was in a similar situation when I had changed companies and I started with a new department which had young people. I tried different things, but what I found really worked, because if you put yourself in their mindset, they are young, they are impressionable, they want to make a great impression on their bosses. The biggest fear they have is fear of failure. If they mess up, your idea of them, you will go down, right? You won't consider them. You probably consider them, oh, this fellow is a real stupid guy. He comes out with bad ideas. What I realized is when I shared with them my failures. So if you are willing to be vulnerable, and not pretend to be the boss who's perfect and expect his people in his department to be perfect. Once you show your vulnerability, show that at their age you also messed up and you made mistakes, and today you can laugh about it, but you were so fearful and you didn't want to make decisions. Once they see that you're human and you have been in their shoes earlier, they will believe, and rightly so, that you understand them and you are willing to listen to them and probably even guide them. And that's what the younger generation is looking for. They are looking for meaning, they are looking for to do something that's valuable, and they want to work with people who value them. A salary is not such a big issue with them, but they want to work with people who value them and who value what they are doing. So my suggestion would be vulnerable. Let them see that you are human. You also bleed. You also make mistakes, and then they will be comfortable to try out things with, I won't say without the fear of failure, but with a much lesser fear of failure. Thank you.
Absolutely. Get down to their level. I think that works with every age. You work at their level. You understand what they go through and work at their level. Where is Dr. Sandeep? I wonder if he wants to give some insights. Are you there, Doctor?
Yeah, ma'am. I was a little busy with some.
Yeah, so Doctor, the question was, Parul is, she's got her own, I think she has a startup. I don't know that, but she's dealing with young people, and she wants to know how she should be helping them not feel that they are small. How she should work with them as an employer. The younger generation. So
Yeah, I mean, empathy is something that we all talk about but seldom practice. Do unto others as you would like others to do unto you. This is what the Lord Jesus said in the Sermon on the Mount in Matthew 7:12. So, I mean, I was hearing some of you talking also in between. I had some other work to do. So I was, hearing you people also, I mean, our dear speakers, co-speakers with me also telling about be in their shoes. If I was an employee, if I was in their shoes, how I had my set of failures or my set of struggles, and if I was in their place, simply speaking, how I would like my employer to behave to me, to deal with me. So like that, empathize with them and feel for them, and at the same time, of course, we may have to be objective, we may have to be professional. All that is good, but we are all human beings, and we have to be more humane and more understanding, more listening. To have a non-judgmental listening attitude, just to hear what they want to say and how they are feeling in their workplace, what are their struggles, and also treat them not just as an employee but as a person as a whole who has a family, who has husband or wife, and children, parents to take care, and some financial struggles, some debts, some loans. So think about all those things as much as you have time and space, and see how you can go an extra mile to help them out. And when they know that it is something like somebody said, others won't care how much you know unless they know how much you care. You understand? You all would have heard it before. So others won't care how much you know uh, unless they know how much you care. So let them know that you care for them, and you are there to be with them in their struggles, and of course that will really build up good relationships and healthy professional, healthy relationships that will go a long way in the benefit of the company and the organization as a whole also. Hope my 2 copper coins are worth of worth some value. I hope you understood what I was trying to communicate. Thank you.
Do you want to say something, Parul?
Yeah, I was just gonna say these are all amazing answers. Like, obviously, as I stated before, I'm a university student, and I'll be going into my last year. And after this, I do plan on exploring industry and being able to just open myself up to new opportunities. But it's so nice to hear that there are ways I can still encourage people younger than me to, go down the path of still being able to think create like more opportunities and be able to think outside of the box without them having to feel like they have to hold themselves back or they can't reach out or anything. So I just had one more follow-up question. So recently, there are a lot of, like AI generated things out there and many AI startups, and ChatGPT is a big thing right now in the industry as well as in school, I've seen. So how do you guys feel about AI being able to help the upward trend of creativity, and where is like sort of the barrier or thin line of when AI kind of takes over the full power of human creativity? What do you guys think about that?
That's an amazing.
I see that Marcus and I are sort of like, do you want to schedule? Do you have 2 hours? Wow, big question, Marcus. I'm going to let you hand it. I think you should.
Yeah, okay. I was just, it's my topic. That's why I was laughing. And, I have a
Yeah,
technology
Parul, we
background.
call him a Swiss guru, by the way.
Oh my
A
God,
Swiss
okay.
digital guru. I mean, at this time, I think I didn't say that, but we call him a Swiss digital guru. So he's
Okay.
the right person to talk about. You should go
Awesome.
check him out on
Yeah.
LinkedIn.
100%, yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, so I've done a lot in technology in the last years, and also my startups are connected really to technology. We use also AI in our robots, for example. And what we see is there is the media, which tells one story, and then there is the real life, which is the other story. And the media tells always the AI takes over everything, and it's getting a crazy world and whatever. But always when we dig into more details, then we find out it's not that crazy. It's helping us in the end. These are tools that help us. That ChatGPT is great to generate ideas, and to get to use it for texts and whatever, to correct texts, whatever. But it will not take over everything like we always read in the media. It's all helping tools, and also when we work on our security robots, for example, it's helping. The robot will find its way. The robot will find if there are people in the room and things like that. But it's all helping technologies. It's not a complete change of everything, right? And that's what we see. And I think also the media wants to sell us there's some big stories, and in the end, what they sell is in perhaps 50 years or 80 years or whatever, but not now.
Yeah, I think it's spot on, and I would just add to that. I mean, and I think to your question around, does it stunt creativity? For example, we can talk about generative AI and especially in the workplace and content creation, and which we all use it for. But then there's if you apply it more to the arts and music and being a musician, for example. There was the old way you became a musician is you listen to everything, right? You need to know, you got to listen to all the Beatles, you need to listen to all Led Zeppelin, you need to understand music, and then your own voice can come out of that. So now there are incredible AI tech out there that can kind of say, well, what genre do you like? And then it can actually start to create music for you. And it sort of bypasses that step of 10 years of just immersing yourself in it. and then creating your own personalized voice. So I do fear a little bit that there's a speed but on the other hand, I think this is just the future of kind of where we're going to, because now there's more attention on kind of honing in on what your creative voice is. You can just get there faster. So I don't necessarily think it's bad nor good. I think we just have to be aware of it. And so I always urge musicians and artists, like, still do your homework, go listen to old music, go look at old art. Like, don't lose the beauty of creation by just leveraging AI that can get you there more quickly. So I think it's a blend, but yeah, as Marcus's point, the fear of we're all going to be run by robots in 3 years is just simply not true. And it really needs to be looked at as a tool, and we need to I think continue to take ownership over it more. And and I think in business, and so I don't know, it's a great question. I could go on. We can go on for a long time about this. I just want to say one thing too. I really appreciate you too, as someone who's younger, coming up, really thinking about these things and encouraging younger workers who aren't even in the workforce yet. I really think that's great. We don't listen enough to young voices. It's funny, I speak at some of the biggest HR conferences and people and work conferences, and we talk about what young workers want, and I look at the stage and everyone on the panel is 30 years old plus. And I always joke, like, why don't we have someone who's 18, 19, 20, 21 in school and university? We need to do more and more of that. So thank you for having, bringing your voice up, and keep doing that. I always encourage that. I think that's so important.
Of course. Thank you guys so much for your amazing answers.
Amazing question. Thank you, Parul. Okay, now I think Marcus is going to sum up. So over to you, Marcus.
Okay, I share my screen again, and okay, and go to presenter mode. I hope you see it. Do you see my screen?
Yes, it's
okay, great, perfect. So I will try to make it fast because we are already over time, and you're still all here. So thanks a lot for that. And yeah, from that side, I will be fast. So I have here some points which are important for business. So why is creativity so important in business? And we have heard these points already from different people now. So creativity drives ideas. Think of Apple, how Apple transformed the whole industry, the whole world with the iPhone. Creativity drives growth, and think of Tesla, how they changed everything with the electronic vehicles and led to this growth. Creativity also builds emotional connections. Think of Disney. We are all still connected with Disney, and I still remember my youth and when I was a kid. So Disney is something which brought a lot of creativity in a lot of people. Think of how future-proofing, how business adapts, and Dan told the story of Blockbuster and how Netflix changed into streaming and survived and is now a big player worldwide. And think of talents. And I always think of Google. When I look in Zurich, we have big Google offices here with several thousands of people, and a lot of young people and programmers want to work at Google. So I think that's really a big topic. And I want to give you one thing, and that's think about one idea, one learning, one topic, what you have heard today. It must be not much. Take just one thing or one model you have heard from Floyd or something, and try to use that. And with that, you go forward and bring something valuable into your life, which you have learned today. Just use one topic, one idea. And I want to give you one more thought, and this thought is something what I also learned in my life, or in what I did in my whole life with transformation, digitalization, and with also creativity. And what I learned is I made a lot of creativity sessions also with a lot of people, with CEOs. We invested always in big companies, especially a lot of money there. And what happened often was we made nice slides, we created ideas, often not a groundbreaking ideas, but great ideas. But what happened was the slides, just stayed there, and there was no real transformation. There was no real change. It was only the ideas there, and nothing happened. And what I learned is start with doubt. And doubt helps you to be creative. That sounds a little bit strange because doubt is a quite negative word. But if you think of your processes, how you run your things daily, think of your mental models, what you do every day, think of how you structure your day, think of how you do your work, how you do your sales, how you do your finance processes, whatever. Doubt it, and you will come in this creativity mode. So that's a learning what I want to give you. And there you jump directly in a creativity mode and change little things, step by steps, not the big things, but step by step you grow. And I want to give you a last story, which I think it's a really great story because it's from one of the greatest inventors of all times. It's from Henry Ford. And he invented great things. And there was the Model T, the very famous car. And this car was only in black. And he invented so great things. But in the end, what happened after a while was that other car manufacturers, and I show you a picture of that, other car manufacturers started to produce cars in colors, and also cars for certain purposes, not only one model. And then they had a really big challenge to adapt. And even these big innovators were stuck in a box. And the other thing that happened, and that's very interesting, what I thought, the people on the countryside, they bought this car, and they just used it as a pickup truck. They just put out the seats in the back and used it as a pickup truck. And it took 19 years until the first pickup truck was really developed. 19 years, nobody was thinking out of his box. And so it's not only, it's human that we think inside a box. And that's a last story I want to give you. So even the greatest inventors of all think sometimes into their box, and not only inside and not outside. And even there, they are stuck. So it's normal, and that's why it's something which is human. So that's the last quote from Edward de Bono. There's no doubt that creativity is the most important human resource of all. Without creativity, there would be no progress, and we would be forever repeating the same pattern. I think that's an important quote, an important statement. I would like to close this session with that one. And I think only Bissy, you want to mention some further points, and then we are ready to stop.
Yes, that was an amazing session. And I think all of us had a lot of information to give, and I'm sure the audience loved it. And for anybody interested, all this will be on YouTube and on LinkedIn. So you can watch it again, and it'll be, all the speakers would be tagged. So you could speak to any one of us. And for our future, now what's coming? So for the future, we have work culture and analysis planned for 3rd of August. Then we're planning generational gap, a game player at work. And another topic would be the right fit defines the organizational trajectory. I think that's a lot of matter there. So that's for today. And thank you, dear audience, for being with us. We went over time, And thanks for the patience. And thank you. And see you soon for our next webinars.
Thanks, everyone.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Parul says thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.